my friends, I thought today I would take you through some van build hacks that I've learnt along the way. When I moved into Gypsy, I didn't really have the skill set to be able to do a full fit out myself, or the time, or the money. So I've sort of been renovating Gypsy as I go, which has kind of been good because I think the more you live van life, the more you work out what does and doesn't work for you. So here are some of the hacks I've learnt along the way that might save you some time and money. So something that a few of you have commented on in my previous videos are my window covers, and I haven't bought these, I have made them myself. I think you can buy these from, or pre-made ones from Living in a Bubble, and I'm sure other places do them as well, but it can get quite expensive, especially when you've got this many windows in your vehicle. And I love having this many windows, by the way, because it's still, I can be in my van but still appreciate the outdoors. Anyway, I digress. So when I moved into the van, I was trying to conserve money and I had time at night to be able to make these myself, so I did. So I did actually get the idea from another YouTube channel, and I didn't keep those details because this was like 4 years ago I did this, so unfortunately I can't credit them below. So anyway, what I did was I love to upcycle, I hate waste. So when I bought this van, it already had curtains on the inside. So this is the curtain that was in here. And it's pretty neutral, I kind of liked them. So I thought, well, I'll use that as the interior cover for the curtain. And I bought some off-cut block out blind from Spotlight, and it was off-cut, so it was, you know, I'm saving stuff from going to the waste. And then I bought magnets to go around the edges, and I've got shed insulation on the inside. Now, things you could probably do different are the material that I've used is quite heavy, so you could probably use a lighter material. The curtains, it's a block out blind on this side as well. So I don't know really if you need block out because you've got the shed insulation on the inside. I'm sorry, I've got a bee that's coming into my van. Out that way, you want to be outside. So there's always a bit of nature that jumps into my videos. So the shed insulation, I'm not actually sure of the actual one that I got, I can't remember, but it's probably about, I don't know, 1/2 centimetre thick. And what I did was I bought, I had some cardboard and I put the cardboard in the window area and cut that to size. Then I used that as a template to cut around the shed insulation. Then I would, around each window frame is maybe a couple of centimetres of metal. So I made sure that I cut enough edging around, so my shed insulation finishes about here, and then I've got this edging on the edge, edging on the edge. So I needed the edging to put the magnets in so that the magnets would sit flush against the metal. The reason I love these versus like just pull apart curtains is because you can almost block out the light completely at night. So I really wanted to be able to have light in my van because I was stealth camping a lot, a light in my van, but not draw attention to myself that I was in the van. So it works pretty well. Over the few years I've been using them, they have sort of like, they're not as taut as they were before, so there is a tiny little bit of light coming through, but this light that I'm using here is really, it's a bright fluorescent light, so if you had dimmer lights I don't think you would have any light come through. Now the magnets that I used, it was a bit of trial and error because it's quite a thick material, block out material on this side. Now you want the magnets, just try the materials that you're going to use, try different magnets. So there's these ones here from Bunnings, and they're the maximum strength ones, but they're $10. So you can actually get ones that are, they're black, and I think there's more in a packet, and they will work, but you've just got to make sure that it's going to work through that material. So just don't invest in doing the whole van, like do one at a time just to make sure you know what's going to work. This particular blind here, I actually cut the shed insulation into 3 so that I could actually just drop the blind down like this, but I've worked out that this one here, I didn't do that. and it still does it. Like the shed insulation folds quite well. So the one annoying thing about having these blinds is that with curtains, you pull them apart and they hang there. But when you take these out, you've got to find somewhere to put them. So I wind up putting them in my front cab because I don't drive with my window covers down. So I just put them back up when I leave. So that's my window covers. When I made them, I don't sew. I can hand sew, but it's really dodgy. So what I did to start with, and I was in a bit of a rush to get into the van, so I used a hot glue gun. And when I had everything in place, I would hot glue gun some of the material, then I would pop the magnet underneath and hot glue gun around the edge. So you've obviously got to make sure that you leave enough edging that overlaps so that the magnet's not going to pop out the other end, and you want to glue there as well. But obviously using a hot glue gun, that glue is not going to last forever, because especially you've got the sun beating down on there, it's going to loosen that grip, that glue. It won't be effective anymore. So I think after about 6 months I noticed that the magnets had started to fall out. So because, you know, I'm not really doing much in the van at night, what I just started doing was hand sewing around each magnet. And yeah, that worked fine now. So I still use all those. Yeah. So that's my window covers. I hope you like them. I hope this has been helpful. And yeah, just maybe try and, you might be able to find a thinner shed insulation or something else that's as insulating but thinner than shed insulation. So yeah, comment below if you've got any other ideas, but they're quite effective. I do quite like them. So something else I've done recently, which some of you may have noticed in some of my recent videos, or may not, is these. And you may be asking, how did she just take that off and put that back up so easy? Well, I'm really intelligent, you see, and I came up with this idea. I was sitting here, so sorry, I'll go back a step. Before I had my pod installed, I used to just have the headlining in here from the original vehicle. So I had to obviously take all of that out, and the headlining used to go to just above the windows. So then I had all of this, once that came out, I had all this bare metal in here, which obviously it's not good for insulation and it looks really ugly. So I just had in my head that I wanted some sort of fabric there. And originally I was thinking like I could magnetize something to it. And then I'm sitting here at my desk one night and I'm looking around my van and I'm just thinking, how am I gonna do, what can I use? Like if I use wood, it's probably gonna be too heavy. And I want something a bit softer and more insulating. And I was sitting there and then I looked at my Australia map that was sitting above my kitchen sink and went, oh, that's cork. I could use cork. So cork is what I've used. I got these cork tiles from Bunnings. And so cork is actually anti-moisture. Is there another word for that? And I can't think of it right now. It is insulating, it's natural. So yeah, for some reason they do smell a little bit when you open the packet, but yeah, I'm all about trying to go natural products. I don't want to use anything chemical or plastic so anyway. That's why I went with the cork, and it just so happens that those cork tiles from Bunnings are the perfect size to cover that section up. And I got some cotton fabric from Spotlight, and I did double that fabric up because it's white and I'm trying to cover up the darkness of the cork. And I wound up getting a staple gun, and I staple gunned the fabric, because once again, I don't like to sew. And it's easy and quick. I staple gunned the fabric to the cork tile. However, when I did it, I noticed that the staple was going through and poking out the other end. So I actually had to put a little bit of cardboard in between, so it just gives it a bit more height and something to grab onto. So when I made them, I would just do staples in each section here, and then I put magnets in each four corner. Now, I had to play around for a little bit trying to get the right, I didn't want to overinvest with the magnets because they're really expensive. So I've gone with the max strength ones from Bunnings because the cork is actually, it's quite heavy. So I went with these ones, and they're $10 a packet for 3. So I was, okay, let's try 2 magnets to start with. And that didn't work, like it would slide down as I was driving. So I tried 3 and it was still not great. And then I tried 4 and that's been fine. So I've actually gone over on corrugated roads and it's no problem. It's just not fallen at all. So I did, yeah, all along here and here, and I love it. And I think it actually has made quite a difference because I'm still stuck in Perth at the moment. So I haven't headed north and it's been really cold. And so when you're in a vehicle in the cold, that metal just conducts that cold and it's like sleeping in a fridge. It's just, if you're not under the covers, it gets pretty chill. So I just love these. And I did have in my head also that I might use, you know, you could mix it up. You could put a pattern on one tile and, you know, maybe do odds and evens or just choose different patterned material. If you get sick of it, you can change it over to a different material. I just love them. So I'm super glad I came up with that idea. It's a pretty cool hack. It might be more expensive than doing wood cladding because of the magnets, but those magnets, you know, they'll last forever. Maybe magnets do. I don't know. Do they lose magnetism? Is that a word, magnetism? I don't know. They will last a really long time. And you don't have to, like, you can just keep reusing them for something else if you decide you don't like it. So, yeah, it might be a little bit more expensive, but I like the softness of having fabric there rather than the wood paneling. It feels a little bit cozier. So then obviously with the Toyota Hiace, the commuters that are high tops, they sort of go in at the top. So that's a little bit more of a challenge. So I did still do the same thing, and I've just cut. I've got a little hand saw that you would have seen me using to cut all my wood with. So I've done this. I've just cut the tile down to size, and I've put 2 magnets at the bottom, and there's like a little lip here. So I just I've put it up there, and I've just done these ones, but they seem to be holding fine because once again I've gone over the corrugated roads and speed bumps. None of them have fallen off. So I still need to line them up properly and finish all of that off, so it's still looking a little bit funny at the moment. But yeah, it will still leave a gap at the join here, which you can't really see, but I'm planning on actually, I'm trying to talk my daughter into doing some crocheted vines because I didn't like having the plastic plants. So once she's done that for me or I've been able to make them or something, then I will hang some crocheted greenery vines along here and maybe fairy lights. I don't know. I haven't found any that I like yet. So yeah, that's another hack for you. If you don't necessarily have the time or skill set to do all the paneling, that might be an option. So a few other little things that I've come across, and probably more recently because I've been doing the renovations, I'm really like trying to make it more homey. I've put my curtains in now and I've got a couple of curtains at the back, and I have found that even though I have the blind for the back window, the ones I was referencing earlier, I like the curtains there as well because it's actually just giving that extra bit of insulation for me with my bed, because the metal around the door is obviously cold, and it makes it a little bit homier having the curtains there. So yeah, I put those in and I think that it just makes it a little bit warmer. The other thing that I've recently done, and I haven't installed yet, maybe by the time this video has come up, I will have it to show you, I really hope, because they haven't arrived yet. But I've got some stick-on tiles. So I did see another vanner and she had done like a bit of a splashback with stick-on tiles. And when you are doing your fit out with your van, you've got to think about weight. And so obviously tiles would be quite heavy, but stick-on tiles would be a lot lighter, and easier to install. So I had seen another vanner, use them as a splashback, but then when I was thinking about what to do with this tabletop, because I sort of whacked that together myself and it looks a little bit dodge on top. And Brenna from Brenna Living Joyfully, shout out to Brenna, did, I'm sure she was suggested it, to put some stick-on tiles on top of my tabletop. And I was like, oh, brilliant. So I was going to paint like a mandala or something on there, but anyway, I'm trying to cover up my dodgy workmanship. So I've got some stick-on tiles that I'm going to put on there. And then I thought you could actually use those stick-on tiles on other areas. So obviously with my van down here in between the windows, I'm not sure yet if I'm just going to cut to size again to put something in between like that, which I may do. But if I don't want to, I could put some stick-on tiles down there just to tidy it up and make it look nicer. And you could do that with any other area of your van that you've got, you know, you don't want to invest in a lot of time or money on. So one of the other things I want to touch base on, and I have mentioned in previous videos, is your power source. So when I moved into Gypsy, I didn't know that you could get portable power sources that had 240 power with them. I knew I needed 240 power. So 240 is, you know, like your house power where you plug in and it's got the 3 prongs. You've got your DC power, which is something like where you could charge via a USB or something. So the 240 power I knew I needed. So I wound up paying a sparky thousands of dollars to install my solar panel and my inverter and my DC to DC charger and my battery and all of that. And I've paid probably thousands again in upgrades and electrical fault issues that need fixing. You could get a portable power system which would save you a lot of time and money. So I know that places like Bluetti do them, and depending on the size you want, you can get some that it might be a couple of $1,000s, but to give you a bit of comparison, it cost me $4,500 to install my setup to start with. So I've upgraded it since then and it's cost even more. So if you are, you know, you're thinking about space and money, and, you know, there would be warranties on those sort of portable systems as well. So yeah, it's just something else to consider to try and, you know, simplify things. So while we're still on the topic of power, something else I bought recently, which I haven't received yet, but hopefully I'll have to show you by the time I release this video, is I have one light that has been bothering me this whole time I'm talking to you. It's very, very bright. It's a really bright fluoro light. And I would just love something that's a little bit more, you know, mood lighting, and that I can have in different areas in the van. So I found these ones on Instagram and they just stick on, and you can charge them up and they will last for 15 hours. They run on remote, and I think there's a hand sensor on some of them too. So I think that if you're looking at lighting, there are definitely easier options out there. And yes, I suppose it's a pain, you know, taking them off to plug them in and recharge them, but I don't know, like I think the light that I bought looks really cool. It's got light coming from either end and I can rotate it depending on where I want it. So I'm thinking I may get 4 of them, you know, 1 on each side of my my windows. And it just gives it that homier look rather than these really bright fluorescent lights, you know, that are a bit ugly. I have seen other ones that are like a long strip and they're magnetic. So you can actually I could actually put it up here underneath the lip of my pod, and, you know, it's a hand sensor, so I could just, you know, turn it on. And all these lights have different settings as well, so you can have different tones and feels to the light. Yeah, so I think that's another really good option if you're trying to save, you know, money and time and just want it to look a little bit homier. I hope that some of these ideas have really helped you today. If you have any comments to make on any of my suggestions, or you've got other suggestions, please put them in the comments below. If you've got any questions, still please comment below and I'll try and answer them for you. But yes, I hope that's helped, and happy travels.